3, Section 1, our goal is to write, graph, and solve inequalities. And from the textbook, this is Chapter 3, Section 1, and 3, Section 2. Our first definition is an inequality, and an inequality is a statement where two quantities are not equal. Statement where two quantities are not equal. I spelled this wrong. Q-U-A-N-T-I-T-I-E-S. Statement where two things are not equal. And we have 5 symbols that we use here. That is the symbol for is less than. This is the symbol for is greater than. Then we have the same two symbols with the equal to. So this would be is less than or equal to. And then this one is greater than or equal to. And then the last one, an equal sign with a line through it, means is not equal to. Is not equal to. Solution to the inequality is a value that makes that inequality true. A value that makes the inequality true. So a value that you can put in there and it makes the inequality true. The first 4 examples, we just want to put in the greater than sign or the less than sign. And the first one, we are comparing -3 to 2. Negative numbers are smaller than positive numbers. So you're going to have the smaller side facing the smaller number. -3 is smaller than 2. Number 2, 6.5 and 6.3. Whenever there's a decimal, I try to think of it as money. $6.50, $6.30. $6.50 is more. So you would have the bigger side opening to the left. For number 3, I'm going to change this question, and I'm going to make it -1/2 and -3/4. And to compare fractions, I would change them to decimals. So we would have a -0.5 and a -0.75. And I change these both to negatives to remind you, with negative numbers, the bigger it is, it's actually getting smaller. If you have -10 or -100, -100 is actually smaller. You're further in the hole. So this one right here, -0.5 and -7.5, if you didn't have the negative signs, this one would be bigger. Negative is opposite. So this is only 50 cents in the hole. This is 75 cents in the hole. So your -0.5 is actually your bigger number. What? I changed the problem because I wanted to review that negative stuff with you. That if the number is bigger, and if there's a negative in front of it, it actually gets smaller. And number 4, we're going to change both of this. We're going to change this to a decimal, which is 0.25, and then those two things are equal. We're going to write our symbols here again. Less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than or equal to. And I'm going to write each of these comparing it to 5. So x is less than 5, x is greater than 5, x is less than or equal to 5, x is greater than or equal to 5. And now we're going to graph these things. X is less than 5. If it's greater than or less than, it's going to be an open circle. So we're going to have an open circle on the 5. And this says x is smaller than 5. These are the numbers. We want to graph the numbers that are smaller than 5. So it's going to go off to the left here. Those are the numbers that are smaller than 5. The second one says x is greater than 5. We want to graph the numbers that are bigger than 5. We're going to have an open circle because it's a greater than sign. And we want to graph the numbers that are bigger than 5. So these numbers are going to go off to the right here. X is less than or equal to 5. It can now equal 5, so we're going to have a colored in circle. And the numbers that are smaller than 5. And then the last one, we're going to have a colored in circle, and it's going to be the numbers that are greater than 5. Two things I want to remind you of. If you have a greater than or less than, it's an open circle. And if you have this extra little thing here, this equal to, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, when you have the extra thing on your symbol is when you have to color in these circles. And here's another little secret for you. If you look at these 4 examples we do, if you look at this as an arrow, see how this arrow goes to the left? And you color in the numbers to the left. This arrow goes to the right. You color in the numbers to the right. This arrow goes to the left, so our graph goes to the left. This arrow goes to the right, so our graph goes to the right. You can use that trick as long as your variable is on the left-hand side. See how the variable here is on the left-hand side of all of these? If your variable is on the left-hand side, this sign is going to point the direction that you need to color in the number line. Only if the variable is on the left-hand side. Somebody's going to come back after their test and say, Mrs. TenBrock, you said we could just use that little arrow. But you can only use that direction thing if your variable is on the left-hand side. Number 5, we have b is less than negative 1.5, and we want to graph that. Your variable is on the left-hand side, so you can use this as an arrow if you would like to. b is less than negative 1.5. You are going to have an open circle on the 1.5. Since your variable is on the left-hand side, you're going to color in the direction of the arrow. b is smaller than, these are the numbers that are smaller than negative 1.5. Number 6, c is greater than 2. We're going to have an open circle, make that a 2. Your variable is on the left-hand side, so you can use this as an arrow. And we're going to color everything over here to the right. Number 7, we need to do a little bit of arithmetic first. 2 squared is 4, minus 4 is 0. So we have 0 is bigger than or equal to w. We cannot use this arrow like it is right now. You can do one of two things. You can either color in the opposite way, or I'm just going to rewrite this so the variable is on the left-hand side. Rather than saying 0 is bigger than w, I am going to say w is smaller than, less than, or equal to 0. And now, since the variable is on the left-hand side, we can have a colored in circle right here at 0. It's colored in because you have the equal to. And now everything to the left. So you can only use those as an arrow if your variable is on the left-hand side. 8 and 9, we need to write an inequality for the graph that's shown. And I'm purposefully going to write my inequalities with the variable on the left-hand side, because we can say x less than, these are all the numbers that are smaller than 2. X is smaller than 2, or the other way we can write that is we can say 2 is bigger than x. X is smaller than 2, or 2 is bigger than x. Either one is fine. Number 9, we have a negative 0.5. If you want to use that arrow trick, the arrow is facing the right. We need an equal sign because the circle is colored in, and you need your variable on the left-hand side. So x is bigger than or equal to negative 0.5, or you can say negative 0.5 is less than or equal to x.